Elections are the lifeblood of a democracy. Modern democracy is based on the idea of representative government, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Elections are the mechanism by which the people choose who is going to rule on their behalf, in their stead, and for their interests and welfare. Without elections, there would be no way for the people to exercise their legitimate sway on the future direction of their country. Admittedly, there are many people who say the United States is not a democracy, but rather a republic. When Benjamin Franklin was asked at the conclusion of the Philadelphia Constitutional Convention what form of government the founders had devised, he famously replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." Legal scholar Randy Barnett is typical of conservative and libertarian scholars who insist that the founders rejected democracy in favor of a republican system of government. Barnett points out that many of the founders spoke derisively of democracy as a form of mob rule. For the most part, however, they were speaking of ancient democracy, the democracy of Athens in the 5th century BC, which was direct and not representative democracy. In a direct democracy, there is no need for elections, because the people themselves make decisions for their society. They don't have to elect others to do it for them. In ancient Athens, some 12,000 or so citizens would show up in the agora or public square and decide through majority vote such important decisions as whether Athens should build a statue to a particular god or go to war. Representative democracy, however, requires that people choose surrogates to govern in their place. Like direct democracy, representative democracy is based on the principle of majority rule. Some of the founders, notably Madison, harbored serious doubts about representative democracy because majority rule might give rise to the tyranny of the majority. Majorities, in other words, could use their power to oppress minorities, another form of tyranny. Consequently, Madison, the chief architect of the Constitution, helped devise a system that limited the sphere of the federal government and combined majority rule with minority rights. The Bill of Rights enumerates unalienable rights that accrue to us as individuals, or to the sovereign states, and precede the existence of the federal government itself, so that even an elected majority cannot abridge or trample them. And the Constitution vests Congress with the power to establish courts to protect these rights. None of this means, however, that the United States has an undemocratic system of government. On the contrary, we are a democracy, but of a particular kind. We are a constitutional democracy, which means we are a democracy that operates under the authority of, and through the mechanisms of, a written constitution. The Constitution itself is not subject to majority revision, and it can only be changed by supermajorities in Congress and in the states through a process specified in the Constitution.
The system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it.
The power I have as a prosecutor is that with a swipe of my pen, I can charge someone with a misdemeanor, the lowest level offense possible. And by virtue of that swipe of my pen, you will have to go to a courthouse and stand in line. You will have to come out of pocket and hire an attorney. You may get arrested for a few hours. You will be embarrassed in your community. You will miss time from coming onto the Google campus. All because with the swipe of my pen, I've charged you with a crime, which I may choose to dismiss 2 weeks later. It's an incredible amount of power.
Runs the world. So this guy Biden, his first act was to cut the Keystone Pipeline from Canada to America. When he cut that, I was selling oil at $30 a barrel. The moment Biden came into office, oil went from 30 to 130. Now, I almost voted for Biden over that. So I'm making a fortune, but I knew what that socialist was doing. He was making inflation go through the roof to bankrupt the poor and middle class. Biden's a criminal. Watch what a person does, not what they